Nation. We're back.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Fire the Cannon. I'm Rocky.
And I'm Megan, and we are Fire the Cannon.
All right. Look at that.
One of these days, you'll get it, girl. One of these days.
You know, I don't know why the simplest thing is like so silly for me. Anyway, how you doing, Megan?
I'm hanging in. I'm hanging in. It's been a crazy week already. It's only Wednesday, but here we are. Here we go. Things are all right. How have you been? It seems like you've been running around all over the place too.
Good. I'm finally back in Austin. I was gone for a couple weeks and glad to be back. And yeah, just getting back into it. Nadia's birthday is coming up, so that's a big deal, of course. She's turning 17, which is crazy. And just all the things, you know, trying to keep up with women's basketball is going crazy. Men's baseball is wild. Just all the things. Went to see Hamilton this weekend for the millionth time. Tattoo. Prom is this weekend for Nadia. Just so much happening.
Yeah. I love it. Well, anything crazy going on in your world? I mean, you got to show off the new tattoo, right? Like,
you want to see it?
I do.
Well, here it is on my arm.
Yeah.
when we took like actual like beautiful new first day fresh. Right now it's healing, so I'll show you on the screen what it looked like fresh and beautiful, because you know they set up the lights and they take a good beautiful photo. So this is what it looked like fresh. And hold on, it's the Quetzalcoatl, Aztec. You can see when it gets to the front, and it's the snake that it's an Aztec god that, you know, becomes a snake and it eats itself. And it's a few different stories. One is that this is the god of learning and books and literature and education, which is pretty cool. But it's also a lesson that if you consume too much and you overwhelm yourself, you could be eating yourself. Like it's counterproductive to do. Don't work so hard, Megan. You could be eating yourself.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not an issue for me. I will not be so overworked that I'm eating myself. Don't worry about that.
I love it.
Anyway,
I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I'm so the neon, like it's healing, so you can't really tell, but the neon in that is crazy. I don't know. I can't really bend my arm that much, but the colors are crazy wild. I love it so much, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I dig it. Oh, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I was just said, and you, what's up?
Oh, I didn't hear that part. Look, I feel like I've just been all over the place. I recently picked up my 65 Stingray, trying to get back into that project again. You know how it goes with you set a project down and you swear you're going to get to it quick, and then the next thing you know, a year's gone by, 2 years have gone by, and you're like, oh shit, I should probably pick this thing back up. So just picked up the 65. It is currently a rolling shell. I've got to figure out some issues with the frame. It's, you know, and I have this question for you. So you've seen the car, right? You've seen the 65. It was my mom's car. She left it to me when I passed, when she passed, and I sold it. You know, I was about 5 years old when I got the car. I sold it when I was 17.
5 years old?
Yeah, I was young when she died, right? But
that's crazy. Can I show a picture of it? Because I have one here.
Yeah, sure.
I have a picture. You were towing it the other day. Go ahead.
Yeah. So she wanted me to have the car. She left it to me. So yeah, I was picking it up from a friend's house, my friend Jackie, who has been gracious enough to let me keep it at her place recently. But yeah, loaded it up. Decided it's time to start working on it again.
Badass vehicle.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And but the issue right now is, despite all the work I've done to it, I've rebuilt this thing. It's been a body off a couple of times now. I've rebuilt this thing several times and I've had some issues. But right now, the biggest problem is the frame itself has a little bit of rust on it. And that's one of those things that you absolutely do not put the car back together, because when you start getting that rust cancer on the frame, you know, I could put the car back together, build it perfectly, and in 3 months, the frame could snap in half, right? Maybe it lasts 3 years, maybe it lasts 3 months, but not a chance I want to risk. So I'm going to have to look into, do I want to repair the frame and keep the original frame in it? Do I want to swap the frame out, do something a little more beefy? But I have to ask this question with everything that I've replaced on this car. So really the original stuff that's left is some, the frame, the bird cage of it, which, as you may or may not know, the Corvettes are all fiberglass, right? So
Right.
the bird cage is that frame around the coupe itself.
Right.
And then, some suspension parts, control arms, things like that. That's all original. Everything else basically has been replaced on this car. There's a few pieces of body work that are original, but they've been heavily worked over. The front end clip is new. The rear, I guess, is new. If I replace the frame, though, is it still my mom's car? Like with everything else?
I guess if in your heart it is, then that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
It goes back to that question, right? What was it? There was a kind of a classic question of the ship. If you replace all these parts on the ship and then you replace the frame of the ship, is it still the original ship? I'm kind of having that inner debate right now.
Like taking your mom's wedding dress and updoing it to modern fitting it modern style. It's still your mom's wedding dress, I think so. Why not?
That's fair. So
yes.
So I mean, that's the next endeavor, is getting that frame back together, figuring it out, getting it nice and strong, and then putting the motor back together. It's a ZZ502, so it's a beast when it's together. But got another long road to hoe for this one. But excited to start working on it again.
All right, and tell us, Megan, about this weekend. You had a work party and you did this thing.
Yeah, so that's actually not quite finished there. I brought this with me. So it was a Hawaiian themed work party, and I wanted something that was a little more unique. So I actually hand drew this. Yeah, I hand drew this myself, and then
that is wild. It's so good. And the little lei, Bevo is wearing the lei that's 3D flowers.
They're actual flowers. Yeah, so I hand drew, and of course you helped me with the sketching as we started, but I took over and hand drew all of the flowers, and then this was actually just it's fabric ink in the form of a marker, and I was really pleased with how the blending went and everything came out. But anyway, my unique Longhorn shirt. I thought it was pretty cool.
Through the dryer or washer or whatever. I hope it holds up.
Yeah, it's supposed to be washable, machine washable. If not, it's just 11 hours down the drain. No big deal.
Right? No, that's what happens. So another big thing that happened this weekend, not outside of Texas World, and we'll hit Texas World in 2 seconds. Selena, 30 years since Selena, and then Yolanda Saldivar, for her own life, was spared parole because she wasn't going to make it 5 minutes out of there. And then, of course, Val Kilmer passed away yesterday. Megan, what's your favorite Val Kilmer moment or scene or character? And if you have in the comments want to add, if you're on YouTube, you can add to the comments. What's your favorite Val Kilmer moment, role, line?
Yeah, look, Tombstone's a classic, right? I think everybody loves Tombstone. That's a hard one not to go with. I mean, Doc Holliday, you can't beat it. But I gotta say, I think a very underrated Val Kilmer movie is The Saint. He has such range in that. He plays all these different characters, part of his Saint.
I don't think I've ever
You've never seen it? Oh my God. It's Elizabeth Shue.
I've never seen any movie.
I know. It's got Elizabeth Shue, Val Kilmer. It is just a classic Val Kilmer role. I would highly recommend it. It's funny, it's enjoyable, it's spy kind of vibes, kind of a thriller. It's a lot of fun. Takes place mainly in Russia. Elizabeth Shue she's a scientist that's kind of cracked this code, and he's a spy that's been sent in to steal. And it's just a great movie. So if I have to pick, like we say, plunger to the head, I'm taking The Saint. It's one of my favorites. So how about you? What's your favorite Val Kilmer? I think I have a pretty good guess.
The Top Gun Val Kilmer is always my favorite. But then when he did Top Gun Maverick, 25, 30 years later, whatever it ended up being, coming back and being so brave to be vulnerable and expose himself with his health issues and his physical limitations, which he was really facing in real life, and how they incorporated that into the movie, but also just the way they honored that he had gone on to do these great things, even though in the first movie he was a big jerk, right? I ended up loving him at that last moment. Val Kilmer, was he also in Ghost in the Darkness?
Yeah,
Was it
yeah,
Val Kilmer?
that's
Okay,
another great one with
that's
yeah,
probably my favorite
with Michael
Val
Douglas.
Kilmer, Ghost in the
Yeah,
Darkness. If you've never
good
seen
call.
it, about the lions in Africa and they're trying to build a bridge. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, the Ghost in the Darkness is probably my favorite Val Kilmer movie. And then, of course, I remember as a kid, Real Genius with the popcorn. Like, was it popcorn that took over the whole? I don't remember.
Yeah, that was like one of his first roles.
Yeah, it was before Top Gun. Like, that was one of his, like, he was a goofy teen bop role, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a lot to talk about today, Megan. We have special guests, and we need to tell about who's joining us, what we're going to talk about. First off, we're going to talk Final Four, Texas women in the Final Four, women's basketball. We have, we're going to talk about that. We have men's basketball, the new hire, a little bit on the football camp because there's some commitments and way too early lists that we love chatting about. We have a few top stories and our special guest that's going to join us for some of the top stories and then go into basketball, baseball, Texas baseball talk is our friend Ghost of Texas football. Everyone knows Ghost of Texas football. Is going to be joining us, which is exciting, probably around 8:45, 8:50. And then we'll start some baseball talk. And then we're going to do, after that, we have a special guest again. We have another special guest, Isaiah Broughton and his mama, Yolanda Broughton. A lot of people know Mama B, whose son is Vernon Broughton, who is now preparing for the NFL draft, right? Texas Longhorn DL, huge production this past year, his 5th year at Texas. But the younger son, a lot of people don't know, Yolanda Broughton has a daughter who plays college basketball and a younger son coming up. He is class of 2026, big time DL, already getting lots of offers around college. So we're going to talk with them about being a multi-sport athlete, role models, recruiting process, NIL. We're going to have a good conversation with Isaiah Broughton and his mama, Mama B. We call her Mama B, Yolanda Broughton. So that's going to be fun, Megan.
Heck yeah, it is. I love it. I love it. Really looking forward to it. So, like you said, we got a lot to talk about it. So let's jump in. I mean, first, though, we would be remiss if we didn't mention, because the University of Texas is such a university of not only academic excellence, but athletic excellence as well. We got to celebrate the swimming national championship. Men's swimming and diving takes home another natty. You got to love it. You got to love it. First year Texas coach Bob Bowman takes over for the legendary Eddie Reese and picks right up where he left off, bringing home that men's swimming and diving national championship. They lit the tower last night. So that's awesome. Congratulations. And there is something I want to talk about a little bit later in our show, but I want to show this off now. Rocky, I don't know if you can see the link here. It's Bob Bowman in his, he's celebrating a national championship, rocking a Texas Longhorns Texas baseball jersey. We'll talk about the culture on campus, just the cool cross culture here and the things that CDC has built, but wanted to point that out. Congratulations to the men's swimming and diving. Women finished 3rd nationally. Again, nothing to sniff at.
So amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations there. Now let's jump into some women's basketball, shall we?
Yes. So we have to start with Texas women. Let's kind of cover the weekend. They went into the last weekend with the Sweet 16 in the Sweet 16s, which of course is still pretty amazing. And they had to play the other UT, Tennessee. Texas came out with a win, 67-59 over Tennessee. That would have been Saturday night, right? Saturday night. And what was amazing was the story of the game ended up being the freshmen, that were the young players. I guess by the end of the season, they're not freshmen anymore, right? But just like last year, because of injury to Rory Harmon, we had to rely on young players like Madison Booker to be the lead. This year, players like Jordan Lee and Brianna Preston have really stepped up, and they were the superstars. Of course, Madison Booker still got her points and got her work in, but to see the young players just shine and get such love from even other players, even other Longhorns in the family had to give them shout outs. Jaden Blue even shouted out the 2 young players. What really made you proud about those 2 young ladies, the young women stepping up at that? They've never been to a Sweet 16 before, and then they just ball out.
Yeah. Look, let's talk about the maturity and how this team has come together. And, we talk about culture all the time. Of course, we talk about it with football. constantly. We've brought it up with baseball. We've talked about it with softball. But man, there is no better shining example of Texas culture and what Coach Schaefer has built with this team. And it showed tonight, right? You see this with a team that has suffered some setbacks with injuries, came back, like you mentioned, when Rory Harmon was out last year, Booker stepped up. Booker has maintained that role. And in a lot of times, a lot of instances, when you lose a superstar and then the superstar comes back, it's not always going to be copacetic between the people that took over and that superstar returning, right? But again, with this culture, with this team that Coach Schaefer has built, they didn't skip a beat. They were right there. And Rory has fallen in well with Booker. And just like you said, the youngins really stepped up in this game. They have, under the tutelage of Coach Schaefer and some of the older players there, they've really filled in these roles. And they are stepping up to this moment. They are ready for the moment. They're prepared. And it's just been really impressive to watch this team come together, to gel, and to fight together. I don't know if you have any of this. I think we talk about the intangibles a lot on Fire the Cannon. And one of the things that I noticed that just made me happy and really showed what this team is and how much they love each other and how in the moment they are, was the bench celebrating all these crazy plays. Do you have any video of that, Rocky?
I do. I'll show those, especially when we cover the TCU win in just a second. I have some great ones. But when you talk about how happy and excited they are to be together, let's see. We'll wrap up the Tennessee game with their celebration.
and again, I love this.
Those dances. I love it. So they're pinning on the board, that they've advanced out of the Sweet 16 into the Elite Eight. And we know that for the last few years, the Elite Eight has been the cap, right? That's where Vic Schaefer and this crew have maxed out in the last few years at Elite Eight. It was really important for them to break that barrier and move on to the Final Four. And they had to get through TCU to do that, right? So, yes, we're going to show those the bench celebrations we have. That it's so funny. So let's go ahead and move on. They advanced past Tennessee with a good 8-point win. Then they get on to TCU, who was on fire. They've experienced players. And let's look at some of these plays that they made. These were like the game changing. It seems like everybody had a highlight moment. Let's start with Oldacre and her end to end. I know you loved this play, Megan. The end to end.
Listen, for those that are listening rather than watching, this is where Oldacre, like end to end, like you said, Rocky, steals the ball, literally blows past what became the defender, and then finishes a play. It was an and one.
Here's the bench losing their mind.
I think everybody was losing their minds at that point. Listen, exactly. The surrender cobra from TCU fans, Texas fans going crazy. There was even an
angle. Look at that.
There was a shot of CDC sitting behind the bench, and even he was just mystified by what just happened. So, yeah, again, I really think that this team is built to go the distance. When one player, doesn't necessarily live up to what they had been doing or live up to expectations, there's another person right there stepping up. Again, we saw the freshmen step up and be ready for the moment. When Booker was struggling with shooting, Rory stepped up and Rory said, "No, I got this, fam," and takes over, right? We see Brianna coming off the bench, really stepping in, making shots, helping run this offense. It's just really, truly impressive. We talked about this in previous episodes, the stark contrast between, the men's team and the women's team, where this team just gels. The women's team plays as a team. They're on the same page. Rocky, let's go ahead and show this one. Yeah, the bench.
This is Jordan Lee's three where the bench goes crazy.
Lee, open three.
There's like 17 different dances going on here.
Gritty or whatever that is.
Yeah, it's great. And again, Jordan Lee stepping up in her role. Yeah, Jordan Lee stepping up in her role. Again, you're hard pressed to look at anybody here. Tay, listen, Taylor Jones stepping up. And yes, thank you. Taylor Jones remembered Sedona Prince. And that was, listen, I'm not going to dive into Prince's personal life. I'm not going to comment on that. I think Texas fans are familiar enough. We know that the history between her and Texas, and it sure was pretty evident here that Texas didn't forget, right? Especially Taylor Jones. She certainly didn't forget. And Taylor had a great game. Yeah.
Here's the stare down. It was the block. And this came at a really crucial time. So we know a second ago when we talked about Oldacre went end to end with that steal, layup, got the and one, made the free throw. But even most importantly is that was Prince's last foul to give. And she had to sit for the rest of the game. So that was a little icing on the cake for Oldacre's big play, right? But here's Taylor Jones. Like you said, she knows the business because Sedona Prince has had comments about Texas in the past, the old staff, not even this staff. And so here's Taylor Jones with her big block.
High hedge that forces her away. Look where the ball screen is set. Much lower this time. Prince,
it's the stare down, right? The stare down after. And then, of course, they give the other angle coming up where she stares her down. And it not only second, but it was enough to be like, I see you.
It was one of those if you know moments, right?
Yes,
that
exactly.
She stared down just long enough that people that were paying attention were like, "Oh, girl, I see you. You remember." So yeah, look again, this team, and I think the thing that was most impressive about this win over TCU, of course, Texas pulls away towards the end, but TCU was fighting well. I don't want to discredit. This was the best.
It up late in the game. Not
they
late,
did
but when it was a competitive game. Yes,
they did. Yeah, and this was the best, the farthest that TCU women's basketball has gotten in their history. So I don't want to discredit that this team did well. TCU was a good team. They were solid competition, but every time you felt that Texas, things were getting a little shaky. TCU was tying it up. TCU started to match intensity. It's like Texas found another gear. They found another way to make things work, and they found another way to make TCU pay. So that was really encouraging to me. I feel like this wasn't Texas's best game. I will say that defensively they were incredible. They locked down and they played Texas defense, right? But this wasn't the highest scoring game that Texas has had. It was absolutely impressive. But the cool thing to me is that this Texas team has more to give. I truly believe that. This defensive performance was absolute. They put on a show defensively. Offensively, Texas still has more to give. CB, thanks for saying that. Yeah, Zay, we love you, man. We miss you. Saying that it was one of the greatest defensive performances he's ever seen. I mean, it was stunning. They put on an absolute defensive clinic. So but again, I will stand by this. I think Texas has more to give. I don't think they've showed us everything that they can do. When this team can figure out that level of defense and also get their scoring going, where the moneymakers can make those shots consistently over and over, man, I don't think a natty is out of the question here. I really don't. So Rocky, let me ask you this: what has to happen for Texas? So we know they're Final Four bound. Another rematch with South Carolina. You gotta. How do you feel about that? First of all, is that something that you think the committee got wrong? This will be the fourth time that Texas and South Carolina have met this season.
You mean
how you feeling about that?
Placing them where they would face up in a semifinal?
Yeah.
I mean, at some point they're gonna you have to beat the best to get, to be the best. And they faced them, once at home, they survived by 4 points. They lost big time on the road twice. Like they lost bad twice, once in the regular season at South Carolina and once in South Carolina in Greenville, South Carolina, at the SEC championship game. So I think it's going to be a tall task again to beat them. They are just as hot as UConn and UCLA, the other teams that are fighting for this championship. One thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up the actual TCU game is we have to hear Coach Schaefer talk about the team and what this win meant, because we know like Vic Schaefer lives and breathes this team in basketball and women's basketball, and he getting to the Final Four, you can tell how much it meant to him. Let's watch him talk here.
I know I'm not their world, but they are my world. They say, it's not who you are, it's what you do. This is who I am. This is what I've done for all my life. My family has suffered at times because I put so much into this. A wonderful wife. I've got 2 beautiful kids. But this is what I do and who I am. And you invest so much. You invest your heart and soul into these kids. You want it so badly for them. But sometimes it's hard to show them, especially if they've not been there. And you're going against, I think Sedona's a 7th year. She's at least 6. Van Lith is 5. That's 2 veterans, and they got great players around them. And so I'm just proud of this group, man. Today, that is Texas fight right there. That's what we're all about. I know I'm not their world, but they are my world.
That is Texas fight right there.
Absolutely.
So
listen, I watched that and I teared up the first time. You can't help but feel his emotion. He truly loves what he does. He truly loves this team. And man, I want us to normalize this kind of emotion from our coaches, from our leaders, right? Because look what it's built. It's built this incredible culture with women's basketball. It's built this incredible team, showing that kind of emotion, showing that kind of love, and being that honest about what you do and how you feel. I love that. And like I said, I legitimately teared up when I first watched that. You can't help but just feel that love he's got for his team just oozing through that TV, huh?
Yeah. Also love for the team coming from all over, veterans of the Longhorn program athletics, Byron Jones, Jaden Blue, who we mentioned, Quandre Diggs, Coach Rodney Terry, who was just left the, basketball program, still has to send his love. You mentioned, Kat Osterman, Coach Schloss, Sark. It was really, I like that you mentioned Sark even canceled his Monday presser and moved it to later in the week so that they could give the focus to the swimming and diving national championship and the women making it to the Final Four.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a question I wanted to pose, and this is for everybody, right? If you're in the comments, please tell me if you can think of something. But I understand I operate in the, the Texas Twitterverse, and I'm in my little burnt orange bubble, but I dabble around the sports internet, right? And I can't see another school that shows this kind of support across different, it's throughout the athletic department. Like we mentioned at the top of this program, you see, and in the picture here, you see Bob Bowman celebrating a swimming and diving national championship wearing a Texas baseball jersey. You've got former football players, former basketball players, former softball players, legends, right? Olympic gold medalists talking, congratulating the women's basketball team. You've got, we've talked about this on the program before. You see, football show up to volleyball and baseball show up to softball and women's basketball. The women's basketball is all over the place. I just can't think of another school, another program where you so visibly see this kind of support across the different sports. And I think it's a really cool thing to see. So when we talk about that Texas culture, you see it come into fruition with the teams. You see it, those sideline celebrations, you see it with the teams bonding, kind of the behind the scenes stuff, but you see it in the support too, throughout the athletic department. I just think that's a cool thing. And I can't think of many other places that you get that.
You also see it in the support of the student body. Here in this video, I think it's CB. Let me make sure I give the right person credit. Fox News. Fox 7. They posted this video of the students. There was a big send off at the Moody yesterday afternoon. Fans and students came and sent the team off with a lot of love off to the Final Four in Tampa. So you can see all the students who want to get pictures with Madison Booker. And then they made it to Tampa and they got to get all this cool new gear. Did you see that the room of gifts they got to get?
Yeti wasn't playing around.
No, here, I'll show that. I don't need the audio. Yeah, it's the cool beat, but we don't just need the beat going. So here's the video of them getting some really cool gear. Oh, there's the sound again. So they're a room full of stuff, basketballs, backpacks, some kind of tech boxes. I want to know what's in those tech boxes. Can't see. How cool is this? They get all the Final Four gear.
Yeah, so this is the March Madness Final Four stuff. Yeti actually, you saw Maddie Booker holding the bag in the send off. Yeti gave a really nice care package too, valued at around $500, $600, $700. So pretty cool stuff. You gotta love it for the women, and of course we're gonna be cheering them on. Now I will say this: we're gonna jump into baseball talk a little bit later in the show with our friend Ghost of Texas football. But I'm a little conflicted here. We've got a huge series coming in for baseball against Georgia, but the women are playing Friday night when Texas baseball is on. So I think I have a solution,
Yes.
Rocky. I'm going to push my boundaries a little bit. Push
Uh-oh.
my boundaries. I recently got a portable TV, right? It's little, but it's a speaker. It's monster, and it's got the speaker attached. And I've got my.
You're gonna try to bring a whole TV into the baseball game?
I'm trying to bring it into the Yeti yard. I think I'm gonna try to class it up here because I looked and they don't specifically say not to. Speakers are not disallowed. It's not one of the forbidden items. And it doesn't open. It's not a cooler. It's not a carrying case. It's not a bag. So I'm gonna see if I can set up with my little TV, maybe get a little portable fan going because I brought that into the game.
Worth a try.
Worth a shot, right? If I can set up my TV, watch women's basketball in the Yeti yard while at Texas baseball. That's my goal here. That's what I'm going to try.
I will have the baseball on, of course, but all attention is going to be on the basketball women in a Final Four, and not just against anyone, against South Carolina. We mentioned it just briefly a second ago, but they lost to them by 17 points in January. They beat them by 4 points in February in Austin. They lost again by almost 20 points in March. January, February, March. They're playing again in April, like 4 times in 4 months. Not just 4 times in one season, 4 times in 4 months. We know South Carolina, they have this massive record of win streak. They have only 1 loss all season. That does come from the Longhorns.
I was going to say, but who's that one?
They're going to end up splitting the series 2-2 with Texas advancing to the championship, or South Carolina just on cruise control and they've handled them enough to handle them again. That will be just must-see TV, must-see women's sports, must-see sports is Texas women versus South Carolina on Friday night.
All right, real quick before we move on, give me your keys to the game for Texas women beating South Carolina on Friday. What's the keys to the game?
The keys, like we always say, dance with the one that brung you, right? Defense, defense, defense. They were able to take TCU out of the game. They like to limit their perimeter shots. They were able to take Tennessee out of the speed game. With Tennessee does that hockey switching in and out, in and out. Mm-hmm. Texas was able to adjust and manage that. When they do, just like we talked about, TCU, tied the score late. Texas still had the depth to pull away. But man, with Rory Harmon's defense, Madison Booker, her experience and leadership already, and the energy that the young ones bring off the bench, we talked about Preston and Lee. I would love to just see them dance with the one that brung you. Just play good defense and create that opportunity on offense.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I will echo your sentiments. I think Texas, in order to have a shot here, and I think this is very viable. I mentioned a little bit earlier in this segment that I don't think Texas has played their best game. They've played some incredible defense. I don't think they've played their best game. So I agree. Texas has to maintain that level of excellence on defense, be absolutely smothering like they were. You brought up TCU. Texas held TCU to a season low for shooting percentages, both on the perimeter and just shots in general. So if Texas can recreate that, keep that smothering defense, pressure on South Carolina, I think there's certainly always going to be hope there. But I will say, I do think that Texas has to have their money makers make money, right? You got to make some of those shots. You got to rely on your stars like Maddie Booker. You got to have Rory Harmon there supporting and leading, and you've got to make shots. Texas cannot. I think Texas defense can hold South Carolina to lower scoring outputs, but Texas still has to put points on the board because a Dawn Staley-led team is going to be making shots. So I think that's something that has to happen. And yeah, I agree. Points off the bench are going to be really important here too. This is going to be a team effort. Like you mentioned, the times, Texas is down in this series against South Carolina. They have lost 2 to winning 1 against South Carolina. They definitely have the chance to even it up. And listen, if they even it up to go to the final, all is forgiven. I'm happy with that. It's absolutely incredible there. So I think Texas can do it. It's certainly not going to be an easy feat, but like I said, I'm going to say this with my chest. I think the best basketball is still left in Texas women's basketball here.
With your chest, is the best basketball going to be enough to beat them on Friday night? Right now, South Carolina 4.5 to 5.5 point favorites.
That's nothing in basketball. Yeah, I think Texas's best basketball certainly can beat South Carolina. We've seen it once. I think we can see it again. So I got faith. I got faith. I'm taking Texas to win it all. I'm standing by my bracket. I've got Texas going all the way through. I've got all the Final Four correct so far. I think I'm in like the top 92nd percentile for my women's basketball bracket. So I'm excited about it.
We love you too, Billy the Kid. I love this show. Let's go. Yeah. Our buddy Chuck Smith. Hello, ladies. Great TV. Yes. Thanks for if Texas beats Dawn, then they will win it. Oh man, UConn is hot right now. It's tough. It's all 4 teams left are deserving on the men's side too. All number 1 seeds. All number 1 seeds across except USC was the one. And of course, you have to contribute, consider that Juju Watkins got hurt in the tournament. And that could have been what sent all number 1 seeds to the top, to the Final Four on both sides, men and women. But fantastic all around. So I Rory greater than Paige. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely true.
She handled her business on defense. So I have a hard time picking Texas to win this game with my brain. Of course, with my heart, they're going to dominate and roll.
That's fair. That's fair.
Paper, I have a hard time saying Texas is going to win. Can they win? Absolutely. If I had to put a mortgage payment on it, I would not.
Don't bet the real American Doll hairs, right?
But I will be really, really, really hoping they do. Oh man, it will be an upset, of course, but also would be just. It's already program defining to make it back to a Final Four after all the over 20 years, whatever it is. These players weren't even alive the last time Texas went to a Final Four. So to bring this program back and keep building on this momentum with the new players that are coming in too. So you're saying Texas wins. I'm saying I wish Texas would win, but I would be a huge upset. I have to pick. I mean, just on paper.
That's all right. That's all right. We always talk. We keep it real on this show. We don't bullshit. We keep it real on the show.
Just keeping it real. All right. Quick note about moving on men's basketball. Quick note. We have the new coach, Sean Miller, who is now at Texas. This was they put a little mini movie of his first few days at Texas, and he's being toured around by CDC athletic director Crystal Conte is being toured around, and you can see them taking him all around and showing him the Moody Center. And he looked like genuinely impressed at a couple points in the video of like, oh, this is your gym, or ooh, that's the Moody. But for most of it, he had a pretty good poker face about being there. But he did some media too this past week. Talking about, the facilities and the Texas brand and the opportunities to, be able to recruit and develop and have the NIL and the international brand, which we talked about last week. But he already got a couple of good notes. Longhorn Nick Cody said he's returning. He got let's see. We have a commit from, Dalen Swain from Xavier is coming with him. Some of his staff from Xavier is coming with him, but he is keeping some Texas staff on hand, including Chris Ogden, Longhorn. Chris Ogden is staying on as the general manager because he talked about last week that it is important to have people who are in the know, in the Longhorn community, who already know how things are happening, at the Texas basketball program, to keep them some of that on staff. And so Chris Ogden is staying with him. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
But we can't have that continuity.
We can't talk about basketball shakeups without talking about the almost hiring of Chris Beard with the Aggies, but he is staying. Go ahead, Megan, take it over.
I've just got to ask you, how real do you think that was? Because how many times have we heard from the Aggie message boards, this deal is definitely done, 100% done. We're going to get our guy. Schloss isn't leaving. Coach Beard is coming. Yeah. Look, I appreciate the circumstance under which Coach Beard left Texas, was dismissed from Texas, was not a good one. It was not a good one. It's not anything Texas Longhorn fans should be proud of or excited about. I certainly found it interesting how a lot of Aggies did a real quick 180 from, stepping off that high horse, talking about, oh, Beard, the wife beater, the Longhorn, blah, 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 to going, we don't care, do anything to get him. Beard's our coach. And then just like that, they're switching back. let's go ahead and show Nostradamus Billy Lucci over here. What did he say about this?
He said when Beard was hired to Texas, your AD also hired Beard despite an atrocious background check littered with red flags and had zero chance of firing him immediately. Miss me with the moral high ground shit. These same people, I'm not saying Billy Lucci, but I'm saying these same Aggies who pay him money for these comments, by the way, are literally doing mental gymnastics this last 2 days, saying why it's all forgiven, saying, oh, how, well, he wasn't actually found guilty in a court of law. Okay, if it was enough for Texas to fire him, and the same people said Texas made a mistake by firing him, that same fan base now had no problem with those same things, plus what happened at Texas.
Yeah, look, CB, I appreciate this. You're saying it's real. Pete Thamel was reporting that Beard was in serious discussions with A&M. I think that's probably true. I definitely 100% believe there were discussions. I definitely believe they were serious discussions. I don't know that in my heart of hearts that Coach Beard, look, I know he left. I know he was pissed off at Texas. I understand. I mean, he sealed his own fate with his actions on that night. Texas didn't have a choice but to get rid of him, period. But I find it really hard to believe that Chris Beard would end up in College Station. That just doesn't seem to be his vibe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. This feels much like it happens with Texas, right? When a Texas coaching job opens up, we saw this with football a few years ago. It always gets a lot of people paid.
That's
right?
what I was going to say, Megan. Exactly.
Yeah. So this, to me, I think they were in serious discussions? Yeah. Do I think he was seriously, like, really considering leaving? I don't know. I think he was using that as a bargaining chip. The Aggies were showing their hand
every day.
Yeah. I think the Aggies were showing their hand. And to be quite frank, I don't know that A&M, and look, I know A&M's a program with money. I'm not calling them poor. They're not the poors. But you still have to consider that Jimbo Fisher contract that's hanging over their heads. They still owe something like $60 million on that contract that they're going to be paying out for a while. I don't know that A&M had it in them, in the reserves, to deal with the Jimbo Fisher continued buyout, plus the $20 million buyout that they would owe Ole Miss, plus whatever money you would have to pay Coach Beard as a salary to top it off, right? Like, I just, that's crazy money. Now, we know that the Aggies have shown a propensity to drop crazy money before. Who knows? But you stack all those things up, and it just, I don't know. It just felt really unlikely that all of those hurdles were going to be crossed over there.
All right. Well, good. It's, good luck to them. They can do mental gymnastics to fit the narratives they like, and good for them. All right. They still don't have a basketball coach, I guess. Back to the drawing board. I mean, Beard's the one they should have went after, right? I think I lean to what you were saying, that probably it was to get, hey, they want me. Now come back with your manager or your agent to get more money. All right. A couple of football notes before we move on to, we have Ghost of Texas Football joining us in just a few moments, any moment actually, to talk some top stories with us. And then we'll have baseball talk. And then if you missed the announcement, we have Isaiah Broughton and his mom, Yolanda Broughton, of the Vernon Broughton family, his mom and brother. Isaiah Broughton, in his own way, is making his path as a top DL recruit and is being recruited by colleges all over the country. So we're going to talk to him about all those things. It's going to be so much fun. All right. And then, so let's do a couple things, some fun little football notes coming out of camp. We love Angie Weisner, Quintravian Weisner's mom. She has been on our show before. She's so sweet. And she's joined the Mama's episode of Fire the Cannon. Angie Weisner put Quintravian's new number, new year, new number, new mission in all caps. That's exciting because we know he's not going full force at spring camp because he just worked his body to the bone over all these games and was the leading carrier for the team this past year. Hit the 1,000-yard mark, which was amazing. Kept Coach Sark's streak going of 1,000-yard rushers.
Absolutely.
joke though is being number 5 and how media love to confuse Bijan and Jameson and who's wearing 5 and how people were laughing like how long until the media says here comes Bijan Robinson.
Bijan's back.
Yes. What do you think about Trey Wisner wearing Bijan's number?
No, I love it. Listen, this was Trey's number before he came to Texas. So I get it. I love it. And I feel like, we talk about that 0, right? We talk about that number 0. We talk about that number 1. We talk about the number 5 and kind of the legacy that you build wearing that. I love it. I mean, he's got connections to that number. Like I said, it was his number prior to Texas. And we all associate the number 5 with great things at the University of Texas. So I love it, man. I love seeing him step up. I completely believe that he is up to the task of filling those number 5 shoes. And listen, I also love me a good marketing moment. And when you can replace the S in Wisner with the number 5, I'm all for it.
Oh, I mean, for a license plate, that's pretty cool. All right. Kind of bummer news, but hopefully everything's okay. Jordan Washington, apparently he had a hard fall on his shoulder in practice. He's getting an MRI, so he'll be limited and out for a bit. So hopefully we can see a lot of good things. Remember last year at the spring game, he had those amazing catches, like high up in the air, high point in the ball. So hopefully we get to see more from him. They definitely need some tight end contribution quick because the leading producers are all gone. Good news, the commits are coming. We of course do not get excited about where we're ranked in April of the year or June or July or August because Texas has a way of doing it at their own pace and boom, number 1 recruiting class in the country, right? So, but they did get a pretty big commitment, like literally a big commitment.
Both physically and in the numbers.
Yeah, 4-star inside lineman, offensive lineman, Nicholas Robertson. He's committed. He's from Spring, Texas. Big time recruit, big offers, chose the Texas over the Aggies. Most notably was in the fight for Nick Robertson, and he chose Texas. So that's exciting. How much do you think especially seeing like Coach Flood in development and the lineup, we talked about this last week, the lineup of offensive line talent that's come in the draft, like especially in the draft this year, and that's coming through. How much do you think that would contribute to?
1,000%. 1,000%. Listen, we talked about this for a long time. Texas struggled recruiting on the line. They struggled recruiting those inglamorous positions, right? Our O-line. Listen, we could get our star positions and your specialty positions, no problem. That's how Texas kind of padded the stats, if you will, with their recruiting classes. But since Stark's come in, and certainly since Coach Flood has been here, you've got to look at the player development. And Rocky, I think 1,000%. Watching, one of the concerns I have is that we're losing our entire O-line, right? For the most part, they're going into the draft. These are guys, you watch what Coach Flood did with a player like Christian Jones, who would, by all accounts, not have been drafted, to being a guy that's playing for Arizona under Coach Flood's tutelage, right? You watch that development. You see the development of players like Hayden Connor. You see Kelvin Banks. You see all of these players developing under Coach Flood and seeing really what they're able to do. Heck, even Gooseby last year, like he was a young kid coming in, and just with a little bit of time under Flood under his belt, he's performing. So you cannot downplay the effect, the Flood effect, right? You can't downplay the player development and players going to the draft. Ultimately, that's what a lot of these kids want. That's their dream, is to take it to the next level. And Texas is proving over and over again that they are a place that is going to develop players and put them in, and give them a fighting chance, and give them a great chance to be drafted in the NFL.
All right. Good job, Megan. We can welcome our first guest for the night. Yes. Ghost of Texas football. Welcome.
Hi, ladies. How are we doing?
You want to tell me your real name?
My real name is Cord, C-O-R-D. I don't know what my parents.
I don't know if you want people to know your real name or not.
You're welcome. You're welcome to drop all the names at this point. My dad actually is the one that doxed me. This was before the podcast and everything. I didn't wasn't trying to keep it a secret, but I just liked no one knowing who was behind the ghost account. And then my dad, at Horn63, posted a picture with me, and I had shown my face on the app, posted a picture with me and
Tagged you in it.
tagged me and my family. And I was like, well, I
And
guess
your
now
family.
Secrets out, I guess.
Yeah, we'll go through with the podcast and just go ahead. So yeah, it's fun. Thank you, ladies, very much for having me here. I'm very excited.
Yeah,
Oh, we're happy to have you
said
here.
Ghost is everywhere. Our buddy David Wheeler, welcome, Ghost. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much. So we, Megan was going to be like a strong maybe tonight or part of the show. Or so I said, you know what? I know who I want to line up tonight that has joined us in the past and has welcomed us to his show too, and talk some great, well, all sports, but you talk some great baseball as well. So I thought it'd be fun if we can do some baseball talk with you. But before we move to baseball, we still have a few fun top stories that we wanted to cover about just still sports in general.
All about it.
Yes. So let's look. We have a few things lined up still. So I'll just keep flying through them. I know you heard, I think you jumped in at the end, like you could hear the end. We were talking about Texas football a little bit and the new O-line commit, but also we kind of like to look ahead at what people are putting out as way too early drafts, way too early rankings, way too early games of excitement. So let's look. SEC Mike put out what he's calling his SEC power rankings 2025. He has number 1, Georgia, 2, Texas. Then he has LSU over Bama, Ole Miss down to 5, which is a drop from where they would have started last year. South Carolina on the rise at 6. Mid-range, Florida, Tennessee, Auburn, A&M. Bottom half, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Arkansas. Oklahoma down at the bottom. Kentucky, Mississippi State at the bottom again for the people who are listening and not seeing the screen. So tell us we'll get your thought first, Ghost. What about that list do you agree with? Would you move up? Who would you move up or down?
I'll give you 3 of each. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'll do it quickly.
Okay.
Texas is too damn low. What are we talking about? Slide them up to 1. Arch Manning, but I get it why Mike would do it. They beat us twice until we beat Georgia. This is more than fair in the offseason. But I'm gonna tell you, Arch Manning he'll be a better product next year than Gunnar Stockton. I'm confident in that. I think Florida is actually going to surprise some people. I think that's going to be a pretty difficult game for Texas and many others.
On the road. Yep.
I will go ahead and say it. I've said it in group chats for the last month. I think Florida is going to be a more difficult game for Texas than Ohio State. Wow, that's a big hot take there.
Wow.
Big hot take.
Ohio State environment will be probably way more hostile.
We know it'll be more hostile. Their
fans are terrible, but I will tell you this, friends. I've got some Florida friends that they're no walk in the park either.
No. They will be passionate, but angry, violent, hostile. I would lean Ohio State. But on the field product, Florida is going to put out some good stuff. And who else do you got?
I just think that they'll be a little more ready. A lot of overturn for Ohio State coming into the first game of the year. If that game was played much later in the year, I would probably say the Buckeyes. And then I mean, people won't like it, but I think Oklahoma is going to be a lot damn better than the 14th best team in the SEC. I think starting with Michael Fasucio at the left tackle, that's going to be big for Bill Bedenbaugh and his offensive line because they are returning a lot of starters and guys that kind of held out, had injuries. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. A lot of bodies that got a lot of experience last year. So with John Mateer, I think Oklahoma from quarterback and O-line play alone will be a little bit better than 14th. I think that is funny to look at. I didn't expect them to be that low when you pop this up there. So I think those 3 teams, having some fun with the Texas pick, but I think those 3 teams perform better than they have them on this list. Too high, LSU. It is really hard to trust LSU in the 3rd spot. Brian Kelly's team has been pretty dang bad on defense the last 2 seasons. They couldn't stop a nosebleed in the run game. You saw Marcel Reed and A&M run all over him and get all Aggies all feeling good and hyped up before they lost their last 3 games of the regular season. Everybody was like, wow, A&M looks incredible. They could go backdoor into the SEC title game. Well, no, LSU is just a paper tiger on defense. And I don't know if they get that much better in 1 year. They will be better on offense because of Nussmeier, but even their O-line play was suspect at times last year. So I think that's a little high for LSU. Let's see here. Auburn, I think Auburn's a little too high too, to be honest. I don't think their quarterback play and O-line play will improve enough. And I think there's some teams right there on the hills of them who are a little bit more ready to take a leap offensively than they are. I keep doubting Missouri, but they keep finding a way to win, 9 games or more in the last couple of years. But outside of that, I think I'm gonna let you two ladies attack it. I could talk forever about what I think about this.
I
love it.
Megan, do you have anybody that's too high or too low? And then I have a question for y'all.
Listen, I have to, as much as it gives me UTSD to talk about this, I have to agree. I think Georgia, listen, it's what have you done for me lately? And they're going to be number one until you prove them otherwise. But I have to agree, the Arch Manning hype coming in, by all accounts, he's going to be just as good or better than the hype that's around him. And Georgia's got some questions around him too, right? I agree. Again, it gives me that UTSD, given that Texas didn't perform against Georgia, and Texas has to play at Georgia in Athens this year. That makes me a little nervous. I think we've seen that home field advantage certainly play to Georgia's favor. So I'm a little hesitant there, but Ghost, I can get behind. I can pick up what you're putting down on that one. I have to disagree with you on Oklahoma, though, man. I've got to say, and this is why. Look, I'm not just being a hater. I will admit I am a hater, but I'm not just being a hater here in this particular instance. I have not seen anything from Burnt Vegetables that has shown me that he is going to develop a team. Again, I think he's an incredible defensive coordinator. He's shown that time and again. But when it comes to developing quarterbacks, when it comes to even imagining a decent offense, I don't know. I just don't see Venables picking that up, and I don't see any improvement. For me, I will grant you your first year rebuilding a program. I'll grant you it takes a little bit of time to get your guys. I'll grant you all that, but he's been there long enough. This is all his team. The excuses are gone at this point, and I just haven't seen anything from Venables that tells me that he is capable of managing on the CEO kind of level that you have to manage at a program like Oklahoma. So I respectfully disagree with your take there. But
to even play devil's advocate with myself, they're replacing Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman on defense. And a lot of them are like, oh yeah, it's just, we got Brent Venables and that's just what he coaches. That's a hell of a lot of starts, a hell of a lot of tackles and playmaking, a hell of a lot of leadership. And so I can definitely, what I'm rooting for. Don't get me wrong. You know what I want.
Set him up to watch him fall, my friend. I can respect the tactics there. I really can.
Well, that's good, because that leads me right into my question that I was going to ask, Megan. Looking at this list, I was going to go with the top 8, but if you want to include Oklahoma at 14, who here will not be having a coach by the end of the season? I was going to look at the top 8, and I'm thinking LSU, especially when they're coming in with the hype and they keep falling flat. Who would you say does not have a coach? Last year, people thought Florida wouldn't have a coach by the end of the season, and all they did was survive and become bowl eligible. So, who here would you say is not going to have a coach out of the top 8? But go ahead and say of the SEC.
I'll let you take this one first, and then I'll
put the pressure on. I like it. It's really
I'll
tough.
Answer if you want. I've got it.
Go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
All right, I will say this, Rocky, to address your LSU concerns. While I agree that Brian Kelly hasn't lived up to the hype thus far, I don't know that LSU has the money to let him go at this point. And I think his name alone is going to carry him farther than that fake Cajun accent will. I think that he's going to get more time. Listen, that was egregious. My friend. But yeah, but I think he's going to get a little bit more leeway than most coaches would, just because of his name alone and what he's produced before. Other than that, I don't know. I don't think Bama's going to be looking for a new coach, but I'm still not sold on DeBoer at Alabama. And I'm not blaming DeBoer for that. I'm blaming the expectations of Alabama. I think all coaches should have their fair shot. I mentioned it with Venables. Like you have to have your shot to make it your team, build it with your guys. I think DeBoer stays at Alabama for a while, but I do think we start to have some of these conversations about how hot is that seat going to get. I personally think Alabama's a little bit high at 4. I haven't seen that things meshing quite well for Alabama under DeBoer there. So if we're going to talk about hot takes, I guess that's mine. I don't think he'll be gone, but I do think that seat's going to heat up a little bit, not by his own doing, but by the crazy unrealistic expectations of following Nick Saban.
Can you imagine walking in that man's massively
Hard
oversized, impossible to fill shoes?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Nothing's going to swing big enough, my friend. I'm just saying. That's no thank you.
Go ahead.
You nailed it. I was gonna say I thought Miracle Martinez in the comments nailed it. I think these are the realistic, like most simple answers. I want to go LSU because that's kind of like I lean in and predicting that they'll fall off the face of the earth because of their defense. But they do have Nussmeier. But I think, Sam Pittman, his time is they've really tried to stretch it out as long as they can. I'm shocked he's still there, to be honest. I love the guy as a person, so I'm hoping he figures something out other than when we play them. Love to see him beat A&M. But yeah, Mississippi State, Zach Arnett, it's no disrespect, man, but he just, or not Zach Arnett, Jeff Lebby. I don't think Jeff Lebby is cut out for this. I think Jeff Lebby needs to be a lifer OC. But let me tell you this, I root against anybody from the Bryles tree. And so I'm naturally just kind of hoping Mississippi State falls absolutely on their face again. But I do like the quarterback. He's fun to watch. And I'm not going to root against that kid just because of Lebby. So hope he plays well, but they lose games maybe in a kind of high scoring fashion.
Yeah.
All right. So we have DeBoer is so overrated from CB, and Billy the Kid thinks DeBoer is a top 10 coach. So he'll have a chance to prove it one way or the other, right? Okay, so we'll move on from that conversation, and then I have something else I want to show y'all to chat about before we get to baseball, because we got to get to baseball. So really quickly, let's just look at this list of the top 10 non-conference games according to let's see, CF Budge, whatever this is. These are the top 10 games, and they have Texas at Ohio State, LSU at Clemson at South Carolina, Notre Dame, Miami, Aggies, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Kansas at Missouri, SMU at TCU, Florida at University of Miami, Iowa at Iowa State. Which of those games I'll let you pick? Well, of course, we all say Texas at Ohio State is the most important game ever. But let's of this list, what in there really strikes you as exciting? I'll let Megan, you go first.
It strikes me as exciting. I'd be interested in that Notre Dame and the U matchup. I think that's going to tell us a lot about these teams and where they are this year. What is Miami going to look like right now? I think after Cam Ward, that's going to be an interesting build. What happens with Miami? And I'm going to say this too, a little bit of personal bias in here. I'm looking forward to the Kansas-Missouri game just because I want to root on Justice Finkley. So that is a border war that I think a lot of people are not familiar with. The states of Kansas and Missouri hate each other almost as much as the states of Texas and Oklahoma. So there's no love lost in that particular matchup. And yeah, of course we want to root on Justice. So me personally, I'm going to be excited to watch that one. Ghost, how about you?
Well, first, God bless the Finkleys. What a family, but well said. Got to watch that. That's a matchup that needs to be played all the time anyways. Kansas and Missouri is a beautiful rivalry in all sports. I think it should be played. So well said on that. Outside of the obvious Texas and Ohio State, wow, I can't wait for that one. But I think Clemson is going to be really, really dang good this year. I really do. I think that playoff appearance last year where they hung with Texas, they'll kind of use that as a springboard into a pretty easy schedule, and they have a lot of talent returning. They're really dang good at wide receiver. So I'm looking forward to that Clemson LSU game, because we know about LSU and early on in the season in big games. And this is kind of, to me, again, this is a real prove-it year for Dabo that Clemson can still really hang with the elites in college football, because they have a lot of talent. They really do. I'm not saying they can win a national title, but I think they're capable of winning a playoff game just by looking at their roster on paper for sure and how they perform late in the year. So I'll go with the Tiger on Tiger battle for Death Valley, whatever the hell you want to call that thing.
All right. I know I said one, but I have to say two. Clemson, of course, on the rise. But them going to at South Carolina, they have that in-state rivalry, right? And South Carolina on the rise, Clemson into the season hot, South Carolina into the season hot. They're both bringing back a lot of talent and talented quarterbacks. So that is going to be a quarterback duel I'm so excited about. But also Notre Dame, Aggies going to Notre Dame. We know Notre Dame started the season at A&M, and then the very next week dropped the crappiest, one of the worst games in the history of college football at home. They lost. But then they went on to be in the playoffs, right, in the championship game. So the Aggies are going to play. Now they get to go to Notre Dame after, and they're on a hot streak too. So, but Notre Dame's replacing a lot. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. Which team kicks off the season hot in a big it'll probably be a big primetime game. So those are all fun. But let's talk baseball. I know we could talk all football all day, but let's talk some baseball. Welcome back to Texas. We got to get started. Let's Megan, do you want to do a quick shout out to Rockin' Diamond S Ranch?
You got it. I'm so proud of you. You got it. Yeah, let's give our friend Chuck a quick shout out
to Rockin' Diamond S Ranch, and then we're going to talk some baseball.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. If you were looking for a beautiful hill country getaway, look no farther than the Rockin' Diamond S Ranch. It is nestled on 120 acres in the gorgeous hill country near Johnson City, and it's just a quick drive to Austin or San Antonio. The property sleeps 14 with one primary home and 2 fully furnished cabins. There is so much to do here, where you can go wildlife watching, fishing. You can play with the longhorns, y'all. Feed them, check them out, sell them high. There's great indoor and outdoor eating and cooking spaces. And it's just 5 minutes from downtown Blanco, where there are breweries, distilleries, eateries, shopping, and more. Again, we just saw MotoGP come through, and we've got F1 coming up. And listen, Texas football is right around the corner, and there's some pretty dang good baseball matches coming up too. So if you are looking for a place to stay that's just outside of Austin, it gives you that great Texas vibe, look no farther than the Rockin' Diamond S Ranch. That is rockindiamondsranch.com, or give our friend Chuck Smith a call at 512-694-1969 and tell him that Fire the Cannon sent you.
All right. Thanks, Megan.
Sure
Let's
thing.
talk some baseball. So let's start with the win over the series win over Missouri this weekend. What stuck out to you the most about the performances on the baseball diamond this weekend? And also, we have to talk about the impact of those injuries. Megan?
Injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm finding my zen. Cord, I'll let you go first while I find my zen and center myself right now.
She brought up Missouri, and I could feel like my chest started hurting. It's just the injuries. Like, really, like, we're rolling. Everything is going just perfectly with this baseball club. So much momentum, so much energy. And it's not like it's just one guy or two guys. It's 3 of our studs. And thankfully, Rylan Galvan's coming back, or is back. He was only able to DH last night, but it sounds like Adrian Rodriguez has a really good chance at playing this weekend, which would be huge. He slides over to third, and immediately, defense gets better. We got to be healthy. And I mean, your heart breaks for Max Ballou, reigning Big 12 player of the year. It doesn't seem fair. We know this is part of the game, but we love these guys so much when we watch them put in work in the burnt orange. And so just thinking about Max and really hoping, and I don't, mentally, I know it's tough on kids. You get hurt, you want to be with the team, and I hope he's at peace and just, getting better and taking the steps. And if he is able to come back, great. And if not, we know he's going to go kill it down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo those sentiments. It was an absolute gut punch to lose 3 of your rock stars all in one swoop at one place. What is it about Missouri turf and playing at Missouri that just injures Texas players? Do you guys remember a few years ago when we played them in football? It just seemed like every time we played on their turf, it was taking Texas.
Fozzie Whitaker knee? Was that
2011? Yeah, last time we played there.
Yeah. It's just painful out in Missouri. So, yeah, I mean, just straight up, I'm going to try to be delicate when I say this. Missouri is not a top contender in the SEC for baseball. So it sucks to lose not 1, not 2, but 3 players in a matchup that wasn't a dogfight. That's a tough pill to swallow, I have to say. So I agree. I mean, I'm really happy that Galvan got some time and played a little bit here. That's encouraging for this upcoming Georgia series. He was DHing, not playing fully at catcher. I have comments about it. I have thoughts about it. We will talk about this Texas State matchup and how Texas looked on a Tuesday night without its 3 best players. Before we jump into that, let's focus on the positive. Let's talk about that series win this past weekend. Ghost, I want to hear from you. What were some really good, we know the injuries hurt. There's no way around that. But what were some really good takeaways that you had from this ball club with that series win in Missouri?
Well, I mean, first off, it's a team that, it's not a new team. We have a lot of faces over here over the last couple of years, but with the coaching staff and just so much craziness last summer, you didn't know exactly what to expect. But one thing you should know and expect is that when you go play Missouri in baseball, you need to find a sweep. And it's not a knock on Mizzou. They don't expect much to be said nicely about their baseball program, but they look like a junior college baseball program at the moment.
It looked like carnival music should be playing at some points.
And you feel bad at a time.
Yeah.
It's 15-0 Friday night, and you're like, all right, guys, do we need to lay off? You know what I mean? Like, do we need to stop? And so you don't.
Worse than anger, isn't it? Like, if I were them, I'd be like, God, it hurts worse when you feel bad for us.
Like stepping off a base, it's like the old softball trick where you just step off a base at third base and let them pick you off or something, just to get out of the inning, or I think it's automatic out in softball is what they would do. But I think the graphic you showed, those are the major takeaways. Will Gasparino getting incredibly hot, having a massive weekend, and then Ruger kind of cementing himself, and it hasn't been confirmed, but he's looking like a Sunday starter and looks like he'll have that role for at least this week, and I would assume a couple weeks, because he's gone out 2 weeks in a row and just been absolutely massive for Texas. He has a little bit of swagger out there on the mound. I love the way he's running around, the way he gets off the mound. All business. He goes straight from the mound back to the dugout, head down. He's got a little bit of swag with it, but I love the energy that he brings. And of course, I mean, look at that mustache. It's pretty flawless. So
the mustache needs its own NIL deal. I'm just saying.
That's very, very well said. And so, again, it's a team game, and so it's not just one guy. There's multiple guys up there at the plate that are getting hot. And Kimball, again, is staying pretty hot. He's hitting balls really, really hard. Tommy Farmer had a couple of his best games and definitely his best at bats over the weekend. Borber can, he obviously can get behind the ball. You got to see Jaden. I know that was last night, but it's a team. It's good to see that 1 through 9 Texas can hit the baseball and do it against a team that you got to do it against, because there's no reason to go in there to Missouri, fall asleep, and just drop one of those games. Even Saturday, the first one, it's like, what was it, 7-4 or something like that at one point. I was like, okay, like this almost feels like we're not covering the spread if there was a spread on this game with Missouri.
Right.
And so, but ultimately, it's just you go in there, you do what you need to do, you improve to 8-1 in the SEC, and you don't pick up a loss on the road against a bad Missouri team. And winning on the road is difficult. You ladies know this in all sports. Not that difficult up there, because there might be more people here in the studio than there was in the crowd.
Yeah. You take the sweeps where you can get them.
Empty.
It was. I mean, we were seeing OU fans in the stands. I feel like there were more Texas and OU fans in the stands than there were Missouri fans at a certain point. It was pretty bad for them. Love that you brought up Ruger Riojas again. I mean, that man is cementing his legend early at Texas, and he's been nails. He's been absolute nails for Texas. He started off a little shaky in the season, but new guy coming into Texas, it kind of getting his sea legs under him, and man, has he ever found them. Really impressive stuff from him. And like you said, Gasparino, it's Mashparino. I think Texas released that today. It's Will Mashparino. So I can dig it. Yeah, I think that's been really impressive and great takeaways from the weekend. Now, I got to bring it up. Tuesday night games, man. Tuesday night games. Now, again, I've preached this over and over. Tuesday night games do not technically, look, they're not going to affect your season. They're not going to affect your season. They don't matter like conference games matter. I would say they don't matter, but they hurt, right? Mm-hmm. Just emotionally. They are emotionally scarring when you drop games against the likes of a sub 500 team like Texas State, when you drop it against UTRGV.
UTSA.
What I struggled with in court, I'd really like your thoughts on this. We talked about the injuries early. And I feel, and my biggest concern watching this Texas team on Tuesday, I said this during the game, I still feel this way. It felt like Texas lost its swagger. The juice wasn't there. The focus wasn't there. Despite the injuries, Texas is still a more talented team than Texas State. The teams that were fielded on Tuesday, Texas has more talent. Now, I will give this to Texas State. They got swagger, and they are some scrappy son of a bitches, right? But it felt to me the whole night that the focus wasn't there. The juice wasn't there. We saw it early with Borba's era, right? Like that was a problem early on. We saw uncharacteristic play, Will Gasparino. And CB, I agree with you. Despite the blunder, Gasparino is the best player in college baseball. I don't disagree with that. But you saw an uncharacteristic blunder where he was going for what should have been an easy out in center field. Did he have to move a little bit? Yeah, but the dude's 7'14". He shouldn't have had a problem getting to it. It hit the heel of the glove, right? And he drops the ball. What should have been pretty quick to end the inning or get the second out of the inning, it turned into a pretty massive F up, right? And Gasparino himself said, 10 times out of 10, I make that catch. But you got to move on. That's baseball. So I think that was unfortunate. There are some other things that I could point out. I got to ask you though, Cord, how are you feeling? What were your vibes from Tuesday? Is this a hit the panic button? Is this a Texas can figure it out? How are you feeling after that Tuesday night drop?
Well, first, I think I share a lot of those sentiments that you just shared, because it is hard to watch Texas State go out there and have a lot more energy than you, dance around with a lot more swagger, kind of dance on your heads when they're succeeding. 4 years, and they know that. The players know it.
In Austin. Yeah,
they do.
That's a hard pill to swallow. I do want to give a big shout out to Cade Bing, to Jason Flores. Incredible job of last night. I know that Flores gave up a tank to left field that probably still has not come down. That ball is still in orbit.
Yeah.
But he should have been out of that inning 15 pitches before that happened.
Agreed.
Borba, the error at third. I think it's center field. It's a play that Gasparino is going to tell you 100 out of 100 times he's got to make. To me, it kind of looked like I played center field my entire life, and I think he just misjudged where the wall was. I think he kind of expected to fill it a touch early, and so that just made him kind of drop a little. All of a sudden, that ball's at his heel. One man's opinion, but again, he's got to make that play. You want to be a winning ball club. We want to beat Texas State. Now, at the end of the day, if Texas State goes out there and they hit Cade Bing pretty well, if they touch up our bullpen and they beat us in an 8-6 game, no big deal. But errors, I'm all about pitching and defense. And when you're just not backing up two really damn good pitching efforts, Cade Bing was awesome. And then Flores comes in, looks just as good. Got to get out of those innings. And those plays have to be made. The chopper to Borba is a kind of an awkward play. Okay. It takes a weird soft top, but I know we complain about that turf at Dish Falk, and I'm blaming that more than Borba. But no, that play has to be made. Gasparino's play has to be made. Ethan Mendoza, who I always, I just kind of have this. I always have a favorite player or two on every team, and something about Ethan Mendoza. But he chased a high pitch in a situation in the 8th inning, and where we should have equalized and maybe taken a lead in that game. And it's just mistakes. And what does that come down to? Like you ladies said, focus, mental focus, being dialed in. Now, when you have a big series with those nasty Missouri Tigers, and then you're following it up with another big series against the number 2 ranked Georgia Bulldogs, it's easy to look ahead. We see this in football. It's easy to get caught looking ahead because there's not that big of a penalty for losing a Tuesday game. You don't feel it like you would if you lost to a mid-major in college football. And so it's really easy to say, okay, we'll be ready for this weekend, but it is a little bit concerning because you want to make sure you have the ability to get up night in and night out over and over and over again. But I have a good feeling that, Schloss and Max Weiner and company kick everybody in the ass pretty hard, and they're pretty excited and juiced up come this weekend. Not literally juiced up, okay, for any haters out there.
Calm down. Yeah, look, I want to address a couple things that you brought up. I thought you had some really great points. Let's talk about Dish Falk for a second. I know there's, it's a heated debate. We talk about grass versus turf all the time. We know that Schloss has made some comments about it. It is on CDC's radar. Grass is in the future if we can get the money for it. He's been kind of hesitant to commit to that, right? But I wanted to ask this. Just as a note, I agree that second mistake late in the game with Borba, took that hop kind of weird and missed it. That should have ended the inning right there. Again, Gasparino catches that center fly. Borba makes that play. Texas State doesn't score 4. and it's a completely different ball game. But I've got to ask this. So we'll blame the turf for the one, but I wanted to ask, if Texas had an actual warning track at the dish, do you think that would have changed things for Gasparino? That's something we were talking about at watching the play, because I agree with you 100%. It felt like he was looking for that. He was just kind of misjudging. He didn't 100% know where the wall was. And of course, you don't want to slam into it, break your wrist or something. But I do think that contributed. Does the state of Dish Field, and I'm going to say this, I love the Dish. I'm rocking my Dish cup right now, right?
Beautiful cup.
The Dish needs a little bit of love. And this particular game, I'm not going to lie, the men's and women's bathrooms on third base were flooded and out of commission for the whole game. There were lights hanging down, and there was a light hanging down in one
of stadiums when that happens.
Yeah, I'm not saying it can't happen. Listen, it happened at Kyle Field. I'm not saying it can't happen, but all of these things added up, and on top of my bitterness of losing against Texas State, is the Dish problematic for Texas? Is it costing us some SEC swag, and is it costing us games? Can we take it that far to say that?
I don't know if it's costing us games. I really, really don't. But I do know aesthetically, it's not very pleasing. I hate to say that. I really hate to say it. The turf is not beautiful to look at. Green grass has a popping, fresh appeal to it. You just think baseball. You think of some nice green grass and dirt around the infield. Hey, what'd you say, Megan? A warning track. Let's help out our guys back there. What are we doing? We changed the dimensions of the ballpark, but we don't have a warning track.
Back then. Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing up this article from the Austin American Statesman that Jim Schlossnagle, Coach Schloss, mentioned, that the one change he wants to make is the warning track. They don't really have one. They talked about that, they need to let the players know the wall is coming, and they only have so much, field awareness in the game when things are happening in split seconds. And but he mentioned that the warning track needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Cody, I appreciate your comment. You were scouting the dogs on Tuesday. No need to panic. I don't think I'm quite ready to hit the panic button yet, but I will say this. Georgia is averaging 11 runs per game right now. They won their Tuesday game 21-1. Like, I can't even say that's a football score, because you can't score one by itself in football. So am I hitting the panic button? No. What I do need to see from Texas, what we all need to see from Texas, they've got to refocus, and they've got to refocus quick. Court, I wanted to ask you this too. Looking at the lineup, we saw some, uneven play at third base. Again, I love Borba. Kid knows how to hit those Borba bombs like nobody's business, but there were some errors. There were some problems. And I will note, that second play, they didn't call it an error technically. I would have clocked it. I would have marked it as an error. We've seen some uncharacteristic play. We've seen some inconsistent play from there. Chamberlain at catcher, don't know that I love 100% just yet. Would you, going into this Georgia series at home against a hot Dogs team, if you're Schlossnagle, are you tweaking this lineup? Are you keeping what you had? How do you approach this series coming up? Are you concerned with the errors enough to make more changes? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think, everybody is just rooting like hell, honestly, that Adrian Rodriguez is ready to go Friday night, and he can slide in there, and then you don't have to have Casey at third. And I hate to say that, but he got a big opportunity on Tuesday, and you have, we'll call it an error and a half, since that's what it wasn't officially ruled. But I'm the same way. I'm a pretty hard scorekeeper, to be honest with you. Both plays in my book needed and should have been made. And so I don't know how much you tinker outside of, Tommy Farmer's going to play right field again. Left field, who do you trust? Jaden Duplantier had a big hit there. Showed some explosiveness. Easton Winfield is a guy that was a great hitter in his previous stop. We just need that to correlate here in SEC play. Haven't had a ton of appearances, but it doesn't seem like there's a ton of trust. And it's not to say that he can't get it back from the coaches. I would love to see Easton get some more running left. I'm a big believer in his kid. I kind of fell in love with him after he committed last year. But that's the spot. I mean, and it's not going to be easy to go, replace what Max Ballou brought to this offense, and obviously playing right field. He's a great outfielder. He was a great hitter. He's very
he was
knowledgeable.
hitting. I mean, he was hitting close to 330, wasn't he? I don't have his exact number. It was tickling just under that. Yeah, like 328, if I recall correctly, something like that.
Right. And I mean, just a leader. And so again, heartbreaks for the guy, but it is not somebody that just one guy, goes in there and replaces, because if you had that, he probably would have been in the starting lineup. So it's one of the things where we're going to have to get better. Everybody else, the sum of all parts, everybody's just going to have to be a little bit better, be a little bit more disciplined. That's the approach we want to have at the plate. And I thought we really struggled there against Texas State. Top of the lineup, 7 for 17. And it's not just the numbers, but it's the approach that I'm looking at, because I know what they're trying to do. They want to see a lot of pitches, be very patient, get into bullpens. And then that's going to be huge this weekend with the Georgia starting pitching rotation that really struggles. You want to get into all that bullpen because Georgia's used to using them. Well, let's make them use them a lot more than they even do. But that top of the lineup, they're just going to have to, hey, deep breath, all of us together. Not any of us are just going to, we don't have to overcompensate is what I'm saying, I guess. But I believe, we got a hell of a coaching staff with these guys, and the start that we're off to, you got to be damn proud of. And I think that they make the necessary adjustments, and I'm not going to pretend that I know exactly what all of them are. But to me, I think the only thing that, you can do realistically is you have either Borba or Rodriguez at third. And then you're gonna have a little bit of a swing and door rotation out in left field until somebody maybe eventually, hopefully, wins that job. And if not, it's great for them to keep getting experience and building depth, because we're gonna have a long season. We're gonna need everybody if we're gonna get where we want to get.
No, I think that's a great point. Schlossnagle has said himself, like, Texas doesn't have a ton of depth right now. That's something that we will build, certainly with getting more of those baseball scholarships that are coming up. That's something that shouldn't be as big of an issue. But you're absolutely right. There's not a ton of depth right now. So it's hard to say how much you would tweak this lineup, because who do you go to, right?
Exactly.
Now, I'm going to let my bias show a little bit here. You mentioned that you have some favorites, some pet players that you pick. You kind of, I respect that. I've got 3 this year. I do the same thing myself. It's usually 1, maybe 2. I've got 3 this year because I'm out of my mind. Ruger Riojas, definitely one of them. Will Gasparino right there. And I got to give a shout out to my Detroit native, Oliver Service. I would love to see Oliver get more playing time here. I no disrespect to Chamberlain. I think that obviously Schlossnagle knows his team, but I'd really, really, really like to see Service get it in this opportunity where Galvan isn't there and isn't available. It would have been nice to see, in my opinion, it would have been nice to see on a Tuesday night, Oliver get a little bit more playing time, get a little bit more in-game experience. So that's something
I think he's the future. Yeah, I think he's the future. And what better night than a Tuesday night? Because it's going to be hard to trot him out there in the SEC. These games mean so much, and the margin for error is slim for every single series, every single night, except for Missouri. And it's just, get him in there, get him some reps. I got really excited when we saw him early in the season, but I'm with you. I'd like to see a little more.
Same. Oh, Rocky, just one more thing before we jump. I do want to say this. One of the things that Texas has got to address before this weekend. You mentioned it a little bit, Ghost. You mentioned that, we had some reaches. The pitching for Texas State was not phenomenal. And I cannot tell you how many times I was yelling from my seats, just sit on it. Had Texas just sat on every single pitch, I'm telling you, Texas State could not get the ball over the plate 2 pitches in a row to save their life.
They did it early and got the walks. Yeah.
But for some reason, our guys were just swinging at everything. We were either golf swinging or hacking at anything that was remotely close. That, to me, was the most frustrating piece of all of this. I can understand the injuries. I can maybe understand the lack of focus when you have your best players out. You're on a Tuesday game. You got Georgia coming up. I don't love it, but I can get it. What I don't get is our batters, our hitters forgetting how to hit. Just be patient. They weren't seeing the ball well. They were overzealous, and that has got to be addressed before we move on to Georgia.
Just let it come to them.
All right. Quick question, and then we'll talk a little MLB. We have Isaiah Broughton and Yolanda Broughton joining us in just a few moments. Ghost Cord, you are more than welcome to hang out and have a conversation with us, so no need to rush away. So here's a quick question. Do you think the Aggies will get the do you think we'll get the Aggies coach after he's fired? Do you think like early comes and joins the Texas staff as an assistant?
Storied coach early.
For 5 minutes.
I'll tell you this. They're not happy. They are not happy one bit.
They should not be.
I didn't think a firing would actually be possible for an NCAA Division I coach, barring some type of absolute screw up, maybe off the court or field of play. I would be pretty worried if I was a fan of Mike Hurley's A&M tenure, because it might be pretty dang short-lived. This is a pretty crazy scenario that we're playing out right now. And if you go back to the beginning of last June and you just look back, it's pretty damn hilarious.
I think Aggie tears are delicious. I will be the first to say that. I'm completely biased when it comes to that. But I will also say this. I feel like Early had an absolute impossible situation. He was put in an impossible situation with the expectations. Now, again, I've said this time and again, I think A&M's problem isn't necessarily their AD. It's not necessarily their coaches. It's their leadership as a whole. They have cycled through presidents and ADs and head coaches. There's absolutely no synergy. Sorry to use that, business buzzword there, but there's no synergy with the top brass at A&M, with the Board of Regents, with the athletic director, with their president. It is really tough to make smart decisions when you can't agree on what a smart decision is. And to put a coach in that position, a coach who has never had any head coaching experience, not just like head coaching experience at a low, like this dude was a hitting coach, and you put him in charge of a preseason #1 ranked team to follow Jim Schlossnagle. Again, we talked about Kalen DeBoer and following in Nick Saban's shoes. Following in Jim Schlossnagle's shoes is enough of a task, but to ask that of an inexperienced coach, a guy that doesn't have experience as an HC, at a program like Texas A&M with the expectations that Texas A&M has, who can win in that situation? I don't know. It's
a really tough spot. And another thing that's tough is, you're playing the Murderers Row Conference. You get a little bit of a rough start, and it just seems like everything can only get better. Like, they're 13 and 30. It can only get better. Go look at that schedule. Yeah. Good luck.
We got to move on. We got to move on because Mama B, Yolanda Broughton, and Isaiah are almost ready to go. Quick note: good luck to all the Longhorns. Last week was opening weekend, MLB weekend, and there are several Longhorns on this list that Texas Baseball posted of Longhorns that are in the MLB program. So congratulations and good luck to all of those players. One quick thing before we bring on Mama B, Yolanda Broughton, and Isaiah Broughton is the foods. I have to mention this. The foods at the Major League Baseball stadiums are insanity. So next week we will talk about that. But I did want to show you this ring that we just have to see it real quick. This is the LA Dodgers, their championship ring, their World Series ring. I don't know if you got a chance to look at this ring, but the top flips open and
holds a bunch of cocaine. You remember those old poison rings and things like that? Like, either put poison or drugs in them.
This is amazing. All right, I just wanted to show y'all that because I think that ring is insanity. I love it.
It's cool.
Love it so much. Cool. Okay, so next week we'll look at all the crazy foods that I want to eat them all at these Major League games. All right, so let's welcome. As soon as our camera's on, we know we can bring them on, so we'll let them set up the camera. Oh man. Okay. I think she's fixing it right now. She messaged me. Okay. So to introduce, we have Isaiah Broughton, and I'm waiting for her to say it's okay to open.
Isaiah Broughton is a 2026 recruit. Already gotten a lot of offers. You might recognize the name.
There we go. We got you,
Mama
girl.
B in with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Is Isaiah with you? It's kind of dark. Do you have are you in the car or something?
I am.
Oh, okay. So we can hear you and then we'll just have a conversation.
Okay.
Isaiah,
Okay.
are
That's
you
fine.
there?
Oh Lord, he's supposed to be. Let me check in with him.
Oh, does he have the link separately?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure he'll join when he's ready. So, for those of you who don't know Yolanda Broughton, Mama B, we came to love Mama B. And a lot of people know you. Your son is Vernon Broughton, right? Who has been with Texas for a few years now and is preparing for the NFL draft.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Your experience as being a Longhorn mama while we wait for Isaiah to get here.
Okay. It's I truly thank God for the opportunity. None of this would have happened without Coach Tom Herman, uh Jake Lange, Coach Giles. These guys have a household name in my household. So, Sark has done an amazing job, but that's where the foundation was laid for us and the opportunity, the doors open with the initial staff. So it's been an amazing ride. Vernon has had some amazing coaches. He's had to come in and develop, build a foundation, and and grow and continue to learn and go from there. So it's been an amazing ride.
Well, and Mama B, you've got to be excited. You brought up Jake Lange. He just announced that he is taking a new role with SMU.
Yes.
So that's
Yes,
exciting. That's
it
exciting.
is. I'm so happy for him because he followed his heart, his gut, and he wanted to be that parent. I love. He has an amazing testimony. Um, just working with his daughter, coming from a B team, and her desire to play Division 1
Yeah.
basketball, and I
Volleyball, right?
volleyball, that's right. And any parent that is struggling, he's always motivating, even me to this day, and a lot of other parents, and understanding that this is not an opportunity of entitlement. I don't care whether it's you playing for Marucci, who is 3 minutes from my house, and I don't even know baseball, but I know where uh the top baseball players go, where they hang out, so
Right.
at the same time the kids gotta want it. So but he is a strong proponent for that, and has an amazing story with his family and daughter and stuff, so kudos to him.
Yeah,
Yolanda,
absolutely.
tell people who may not know, you have experience as a collegiate athlete yourself, and as a mentor and coach in the basketball world. Tell people your role and kind of what you've done to help not just your own children, but children in your community or families that you've come across, and what kind of guidance and the things that you do to help develop student athletes. You're such a proponent and advocate for young athletes.
Thank you. It's a ministry, and God had a calling on my life early. I did coach for roughly collegiately for 20 years, and then it was time for me to raise my family, and I had to make a decision. And I walked away from the game. And I had to pour into my own children for my children to get that same opportunity, or even at that level. Being at LSU, and playing, competing in the Final Four title game, and just climbing that ladder.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. It's taught me a lot, and how to develop my own children, not only on the court but off the court. And I know that they probably been pretty excited to leave home. They tired of the Saturday morning workouts with John Lucas at 7 a.m. and we can't be late. I'm coaching their training, and
Well,
he
you're
always
whipping
constantly
a lot
cracking the whip.
too. You're
Pardon
throwing
me?
those medicine balls around too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So it was a household development and training pad. I say lab for my
Love that.
children, and so it's truly a blessing watching my son Vernon played with LJ Cryer, who's at University of Houston getting ready to compete in a Final Four. I can name so many of those kids, and they're constantly asking about us. We ask about them, and so just crossing paths with parents, and often they thank me for just I may not. I may have walked away from it on the collegiate level, but it's been a blessing to impact young people's lives, even from my little middle school team. you know.
Yeah.
Well, Mama
So,
V, I want you to give a shout out because again, I thank you for the background there, but I also want to give a shout out to your family as a whole. I mean, Rocky mentioned, you're an athlete yourself, but we got to give you prop. Your whole family. I mean, every one of your kids is an athlete. Give a shout out to some of those kids, Mama V. Tell the people what's up.
it's not about my kids, and I will tell you to the day I leave here. It's about everybody's child finding their way, even Rocky's daughter finding her way and giving them a nugget to believe in themselves. In my opinion, that's what it's about. And that's the nuggets they carry on with them, and they try and they explore. And I tell every student athletes, collegiately, high school, everybody has a chance to go pro. Okay? Now understand what I'm about to say. You have a chance when you walk across that stage with your degree, you got a chance, whether it's in dentistry, you're an RN. Now, that's your opportunity to go pro and be the best, person you can be the best citizen in your community that you can be, and then give back. That's what it's about at the end of the day. And I coach a 4 or 5 year old team just like I coach a collegiate team. The parents will probably run me off, but I don't know no other way. So,
Hey,
But
you know.
passion is
I'm glad,
passion.
I'm glad you mentioned that because when you, like you mentioned my daughter, you really are an advocate of all our children because when Nadia played last year in Houston, she had a rugby game. It was freezing cold, like brutally cold. And we were bundled up with blankets and like going into the car to warm up. And you drove, I don't even know, over an hour in traffic. Isaiah, your son, went to sleep in the car because you came, he had his own camp and his own day.
Yes, yeah.
You guys had been up from early. He finished his camp. You guys drove over an hour in Houston traffic to come watch Nadia play like 3 minutes of rugby. And we will never forget that you are just a proponent and an advocate for all the young athletes. And you don't
Yes.
just say it, you do it. You come, you give them a hug, you tell them how proud you are, you cheer them on, you're there for advice, and they feel like they can come to you like with questions or support or just know that you really genuinely care for them. We know we all know Vernon Broughton, Longhorns all know Vernon Broughton. Your daughter's a collegiate basketball player. She's
Yes.
overcome a knee injury to
Yes.
bounce back strong this year at her school. But we wanted to get Isaiah on. I don't know if he's struggling to get the link or
Oh my Lord. Let me check.
no, don't worry. We can always bring him another
Okay.
time
Okay,
again.
that's
No
fine.
worries. But we do want to share, and you can tell us about Isaiah. He will share his rivals, 3-star ranking. Talk about how his recruiting process is going and what schools he's looking at, and hopefully he can join us.
Yes, I just sent him a message, but I will say this, okay? Vernon came out 5 years ago. The landscape has changed drastically. You understand
Yes.
what I'm saying? It's not like it was 5 years ago. And I'm just like, oh Lord, sometimes I feel like I'm in a bubble and I'm trying to figure it out. I talk to, different the beat writers um and I feel like now with everything that's going on, the NIL, the transfer portal, um, You know, I was expecting to sit back and relax and like put it in, neutral and like guide into senior year. And I'm just like, oh my God, Lord, I'm tired, but I can't shortcut him. Just because the landscape has changed. And and I hope parents understand, and I pray that they can get the knowledge they need in making decisions. It's really it's I don't want to say it's challenging. I don't want to run anyone away, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I just hope and pray that people are guided the right way, and not chasing what they want or who they may want, but who wants them, who needs them, and where do you see this? And understanding that you still got to develop. I look at Kelvin Banks' situation. Came in as a freshman. Kelvin Banks came in over the summer, still came in, was ready to go, starting day one, and All American. That's not going to happen too often, especially at Power Five. It looks good on paper, Lombardi, this award, that award, but at the end of the day, it gets down to hard work. And everyone can accomplish their in different ways and at different times, but that's what he has accomplished in 3 years was it's incredible, you know. So in Isaiah's situation, I feel like, we're starting all over again and getting to know coaches and talking to coaches and actually going to campuses. We are in the process. We only official visit we have lined up currently is Louisiana Lafayette. And then we got about three others that we're tentatively scheduling, but I don't want to release that until the date is actually scheduled, because I think student athletes and parents need to understand that that's where the nitty gritty is. Yeah, come to my camp, come to unofficial visits,
That's
This my
true.
third go round. I'm tired. So, I'm just be
I'm
honest.
so
I'm tired.
so tired. Mama B, would it be okay if we shared the offers that Isaiah
No,
has
I
gotten so
don't
far?
mind. No, I
Okay.
don't mind at all, because that's
Well,
legit.
I love it. Well, you mentioned the Ragin' Cajuns. He's also received offers from Memphis, from SMU, from Texas Tech, UTSA, and it looks like it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are Baylor and Houston in play here too?
Yeah,
Is
they're in
that
play. They just have not have offered, and that's talking to Mama, and Mama making it official. So there is some talk. They're talking and things. It's just not official yet. So
Well, we won't tell
well?
you that they have a pick in for Texas Tech on this site. Jump on in, Cord. So, Yolanda, I'm so rude. I did not officially introduce you. I don't know if you've
We
met Ghost of Texas football or not, but
we
jump
uh
on in. Okay, great. So
we,
just jump
we we do have a background, and I want to say once again, Mama B, thank you, or Miss Yolanda, thank you so much just for all you've done for Texas football. And then, I mean,
Yeah.
you've come on my show one time, we've met in person one time, so
on. Oh,
roughly,
yeah,
we
good.
spent about 35 minutes together, and you've dropped so much wisdom on me in the 35 minutes, and then this here now, and it's just it's admirable, the parent that you are and a person that you are towards other people's kids. Just hearing the story about you and Nadia is really, really cool. And then again, most importantly, I want to say thank you for putting me back in line when I kind of got out of place on the timeline.
Mama Bear, Mama
Mama
Bear.
Bear, Mama Bear showed some claws, and we it was all in fun, and Mama Bear made sure that I don't have too much fun, and so I
Yeah,
appreciate you very much. So I want to ask you a
you're
question
good.
about Vernon, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, just leading up to the NFL draft, like what is your mindset? When you lay down at night, what kind of more nerves, anxiety, or is it just
Nope,
pure excitement
nope.
and adrenaline, like ready to get there?
It's I'm okay. He got his degree, and it's time to go pro when at whatever field that he wants to pursue the NFL. I mean, again, Vernon didn't have that desire coming out of high school.
Right.
Uh, if anything, Vernon didn't want to play football anymore. Just based on how the little league coaches treated him, and he ended up playing just because I asked him to in 10th grade to finish through for basketball. So again, you know, I'm excited for the opportunity and where he's at, but at the end of the day, I'm still about getting your degree. And he's done that. So everything else is a plus.
Absolutely. Vernon is going places. We all know that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mama
So
B, I wanted to point out something that you just said. Yeah, you're talking about Vernon. Of course, I mean he can shoot some hoops too. You got that basketball in your blood.
yeah.
He certainly picked that up from you. But
Yeah.
something that you said just now, I thought was really important. You mentioned we're talking about a kid that played at the highest level at a D1 school like the University of Texas, played at Texas and played well. He showed out and has incredible accomplishment to get his degree. But you had mentioned, his football career almost didn't happen at Texas because of a coach in Little League. So
Mhm.
so can you speak a little bit on that of the importance of coaching? And I have to say this, I echo the sentiment of Rocky and of Cord. You are one of the most infectious, supportive, happy, wonderful humans that I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. But you keep shit real too. You're honest with things. So,
Yeah.
in today's day and age where we see, coaches flying off the handle, parents maybe flying off the handle,
Yeah.
getting a little intense.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about that and how coaching can affect a kid's future from a young age and moving on? I'd love your insight on that.
I think, it's tough. Parents fighting, coaches fighting, and all that. It's bigger than that. And again, we as parents have to allow our children to develop. You also have to hear your children. I heard my son when he told me in 6th grade he didn't want to ever play again. And just because your child is oversized or they're big, um,
Larger than
and
life, not
right,
oversized, right?
but
Larger than life.
they're still
Larger
drooling,
than life.
but they're still drooling. And you want to talk to them like a grown man. I got a problem
Right,
with that because they got to
right.
develop, they got to learn. And so I think, we have to be um, um, talking negative. I can understand getting to the point and correcting things,
Sure.
but trying to emulate Kobe Bryant, it's gonna come in their own way. And there are phenoms.
Oh no, we're
Right.
losing you.
Okay.
Yeah, we got you back, Mama B. Go
Okay. Okay.
ahead. You
Okay.
said there are
So
phenoms.
there are
Yeah,
phenoms that that you can see that in middle school. You can see it probably late elementary years that, okay, they got a special talent. Where can we take them? So, trying to live your life vicariously through your children, you may find yourself running into a brick wall. So we have to allow them to be who they are. Yes, I do encourage pushing them and reaching their potential. And I firmly believe this. Now look, my daughter was a cheerleader till 5th grade, and I dread it. I was the worst cheerleader parent because I did not want to be there, and I didn't want my daughter there. I told him I'm not going to no meetings. I don't want to talk about no makeup. I got athletes and she's an athlete, but I had to allow her to understand that she will never be on top of the pyramid. I had to let them see it until she go ask the coach, can she be on? You're too tall, ain't you? Until, they told her, you're too tall. And so finally, 6th grade, she says, "Mom, I'm tired of cheering for other people. I want, them y'all to cheer for me." I said, "Okay,
I
then
love that. I
it's
love
time
that.
to go. Now I can push basketball on her." So as much as I wanted her to have basketball and to go between the legs and behind the back and, turn the ball over in second and third grade, I had to allow her to be a kid.
That's
You,
such solid
I
advice.
like
That's
I like
such
that you mentioned like they're gonna do their things. My daughter was also a cheer, but I loved being a cheer mom because we stocked our hotel, the parents' room with Tito's vodka, and then went to cheer for them. We went to cheer for
cheer
them.
moms are crazy. Can
Yeah,
we
we
just say? Am I allowed to say that?
had cheer moms. We didn't have those crazy TV cheer moms. We had fun cheer moms. But
okay.
let's talk about that being a multi-sport athlete. Not just trying different sports over the years, but the importance of doing different things throughout the
Yes.
season for their mental health, to meet other
Yes.
teammates, to coach, to have other groups, to like the wear on their bodies.
Yes.
What advice do you give, like your own kids and other kids that you mentor, about trying like all the different things, even in a school year or a
Right.
season?
Okay. So I have a kid, and I say he's mine too, but he's at Ohio State and he's won a national championship. He's a national champion. He graduated this year in fencing. And I used to pick the kid up. Both of his parents are prominent lawyers here in Houston. I used to pick the kid up. He's coming to do basketball. And finally he was like, I'm enjoying fencing. Okay, then, well, guess what? Basketball helped his footwork and
Yes.
his hands eye coordination in basketball, so it translated over to fencing. So not everybody is, there's so many more characteristics that come out of sports and building kids character, the time management, the student athlete, and multitasking. I mean, they are so much healthier than those that, not to saying they are more healthy, but they can accept challenges more. And so it's not about one or two sports, football or basketball. It's a variety of things. To even if they go into cheerleading, it doesn't matter. I want you to find wherever your happiness is. If it's shooting, playing jacks, and let's be competitive. That's all I ask.
I love it. I
Let's
love
play
that.
to win. Play to
I
win.
I love that message, Mama B. I think it's such a cool thing when you can recognize there's so many more lessons in sports, right? Like so
Yes.
many more
Yes.
opportunities and things that you can take with you when your sport career is over that you can carry on into life. You
Yes.
mentioned, time management. You mentioned being coachable. I think that's one
Yes.
of the things that gets overlooked a lot. You know, in job interviews, college applications.
Look at women's basketball. Texas is going for a Final Four. Well, look at what's her last name? Henderson. She's a doctor.
Right,
From
right.
Texas basketball. So, and you can name the ones that are playing pro. Well, she's pro in her area. And there's no additional wear
Absolutely.
and tear on her body. So, one is not better than the other. That's where their love is. And so let's help them get there. Let's help them accomplish it. RNs, it doesn't matter. Firefighter. I look at Zach Edwards from 2 years ago. He's a firefighter. I'm proud of him. I'm going to shoot his mama Kim a message and let her know, hey, I'm proud. He passed the test. He done got through basic training. She keeps me updated. So, it's not just about, this one team. It's an entire community of kids. So
I have a fun, not my question. It was actually Ghost's question on Twitter, which I thought was
okay.
an amazing question. Cord, you put out this question about what's your greatest athletic achievement, and I like that you put no fib telling. Like, let's keep it real. What's your greatest athletic achievement? And there's over 200 comments on that post about what the things that people have done, and I was so impressed. And Mama B, you're talking about this reminds me that people have been successful and achieved things in so many different fields. On that post, there were runners, there were baseball players, there were, football players. There was all these people, and you never know what to them was considered the most amazing achievement. It didn't have to be World Series. It was something when they were a child that changed their life, and they always will be proud of that. I love that you posted that, Ghost. That was amazing. What did you ever give yours, Ghost? What was your most achievement?
I do want to say real quick, like that post means more than it probably should. Just a hard week and a buddy that's going through a really big loss. And so I was like, what is something that I can ask that will really get people to storytell? Maybe
I
not
love that.
storytell, but share. And I just needed some type of pick me up. And then I wanted to go through, I like to go through and answer every comment and show respect on every comment, especially in a situation. And I
Right.
couldn't do it because I was like, I am too
Yours a
happy.
long comment.
I'm a crier. Guys are posting military photos or posting photos of triathlons, and they're sharing very heartfelt stories. And so very grateful for you guys that y'all responded to that, for everyone that was a part of it. I
Yeah.
shared the best and the worst, and we're going to start with the worst because I believe in staying humble. I had 6 interceptions in a football game playing quarterback. The only game that my dad ever watched me play as a broadcaster, he was a high school football broadcaster for the 5A level.
No.
The only game that he ever called for me. So that is a very humbling moment to wake up and read
Oh, yes, yeah.
Samuel's throws for 6 interceptions and loss. I also was a hooper, Miss Yolanda. I
Okay.
had a couple of 40-point games in high school. I dropped 57. Again, it's about
Dang.
team.
What?
57
Listen,
in
dirt off your
Pee
shoulders, my
Wee.
friend.
But
Hey.
Okay.
so basketball was a huge part of my life. I love basketball as much as I love any other sport. I think, truthfully, my brain molds to the shape of whatever sport is in season. They're all fun because once you recognize, as you're saying, it's not just necessarily about sports, but the skills that people have, whether it be a
Yeah.
doctor, whether it be a lacrosse player, it could be golf, whatever. It takes an art, it takes a skill, passion, drive, all those things. And so that, I guess, all in a whole is kind of I just needed to feel a little bit better, and I knew that people would deliver, and boy, did they. There's some really cool answers in there. You should go
That's
through it if you
awesome.
haven't.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So Mama Boo, we have to put the question to you.
It was a
We've
great
talked
question,
a lot
guys.
about
Good
yours.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. You've supported a lot of players. You've supported your kids. You've supported other people's kids. You are the shining beacon of positivity. So I want you to shine some of that light on yourself. What is your greatest athletic achievement, do you believe? We
Oh
got to hear
my,
it from you.
oh my gosh. Now listen, y'all. So I grew up in the hood, and it's playing basketball at the park. It doesn't happen anymore these days, but just and I'll be the only female out there. Okay, taking names and kicking butts, and I got
Yeah.
many a
Pop that
spankings.
collar, Mama.
Look, I got many a spankings because I wasn't home before dark, but I was not leaving the park until I got a W. Okay.
You'll take a whooping before you take an L. I
Yes,
love that. I love
that's
that.
right. That's right. And my mom, and that's the one thing that I look for in kids, just when that green light of confidence comes on, everybody knows that it's on. It's just like Vernon. When he put it all together, Coach Giles always reminded me when he would grab for a fishing pole when he needed his bucket. He would grab a different tool when he needed another tool. But when that green light of confidence came on, there was no stopping. You understand?
I
And
love it.
so and that's what it's about at the end of the day. So, those are my moments, and I really enjoyed it. And I would also say, just impacting the kids I work with. My little 8th grade boys team. And they've never had an opportunity at playoffs, and that was our goal. And we were one game short this season, but just the they built so much this season. So, and I really like coaching boys, and but we had a really good season, one of their best seasons that we had with minimal talent, but they bought in. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
hey,
Don't
That's
tell
what
me
you want at the end of the
you
day.
did more. You did more with less. Listen,
Yes,
let me be your PR firm here. Help me
John
help you.
Miller said
Not
it
minimal
coming
talent,
in.
doing more with less. That's all. That's all.
that's it. That's
Not
it.
even nicer to say it that way.
But the confidence I built in them, the motivation, they didn't know what was coming at them. But
You had well-rounded athletes
I did.
that
I did.
Megan, you responded to Cord's Ghost post about your best moment. What did you have? What was
Look,
the
I don't.
question? The best
y-
athletic achievement or accomplishment or something?
Look, make fun of me all you want. But one of the things I'm most proud of, I played a little bit of basketball, ran a little bit of track, did all that stuff. I was not great at any of it, but motorcycles I was pretty good at. And call it a sport or don't. For the people that don't call it a sport because you don't know what you're doing.
Motorsport,
True.
right?
Yeah, I raced endurance, and I have to say, I took years of dance, ballet, tap, jazz, and I know that seems unrelated, but that helped me on my motorcycle. My motorcycle helped me in other ways. But yeah, my endurance team finished second in a 12-hour race. I will tell you, if you don't know pain, like being on a motorcycle, running a race with 3 people for 12 hours straight, it's pretty grueling. So I will take that as my most proud moment. But secondarily, I will say this. I don't know, again, if y'all are going to call this athletic or not, but my Longhorns do a lot of dumb things. And I'm not talking about my teams. I'm talking about my actual bovine Longhorns. They do a lot of dumb things. And Gabriel likes to jump fences and go on walkabouts. And this fool will also eat himself into a hay ring and get stuck with his horns. And let me tell you, wrestling a 1,500 pound to 2,000 pound animal for 2 hours, trying to free him of a hay ring, I will consider that an athletic achievement. that takes endurance. Right? Listen, there's a difference between gym strong and farm strong. And I was
take farm strong. I would take farm strong over gym strong.
it was a rough.
That's an achievement. That's an achievement. All right, I'll tell mine and then we'll wrap up because I also commented on your post. I loved reading that post. I'm going to go back and read the comments that have happened since then. So, because I know there's more. Mine, I had a drop goal in a game for a win in San Antonio. So it's not like you see it in international rugby. I practiced, my husband and I, Richard, we went out and practiced kicks forever, like every day, just drop kicks, place kick, blah, 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 kicks, because I wanted to add that to my game. And I was in San Antonio and I wasn't playing with my Austin team. I was playing with one of the San Antonio teams.
You never called in.
Or the other way around.
Yes, you look in your text. All you have to do, it's okay. She's going to do you another day.
I love it. We're getting the inside scoop here.
Did he not look at his text?
Anyway,
oh, y'all hear me?
Yeah,
he's just waking up.
In the game, there was a scrum. Our team won the ball, and I was at flanker, so the ball came out the back. I dropped back. I got the ball, and I drop kicked live play for post, and I hit it. And I got 3 points for the kick, and it was the 3 points that won the game.
Don't worry about it. You'll do another one.
That's pretty cool. To drop kick really in the game for rugby win. That to me, like it's not. And of course, when I came after the game, I went to the side, and my husband and all the rugby buddies are like, "Nope, we didn't see it. Nope." They
had to razz you a little bit.
Give you the silent rugby treatment.
Yeah, they're like, nope, we didn't see it, but they saw it. They know. But yeah, that to me, that's my greatest like thing because it's not something a lot of people have done in a real game for a win.
I think sure haven't. Cool. You could teach me a lot about rugby.
Oh my God.
I played everything, but that is not one thing that I've tried.
Yeah, I didn't do that either. And they mostly recruit basketball players.
They do love basketball players.
Yes, because of the footwork.
Fitness, yes.
It's a tough ass sport. I'll tell you. And I'm going to brag on my best friend for a little bit. We've been to Mexico together a few times. I watched this woman play a pickup game of rugby in Mexico and absolutely obliterate people half her age on that pitch. She still got it, y'all. She still got it. I want to say that. She still got it.
Yeah, I can school little girls all day long.
And kids. I mean, there were young men on there too. Like, let's be very honest.
Yeah, there were some boys out there too.
You were playing well. All right, y'all. Well, hey, we truly appreciate everybody who has joined us. This was such a fun conversation. Ghost, we're going to have you back on. We got to talk some baseball. We got to get into the nitty gritty. Mama B, oh, we love you so much. We are so excited that you joined us.
I love y'all too.
And we're going to have you back on. We're rooting for Isaiah. we'll have him back too when he's a little more rested, a little more
Yeah,
ready.
exactly.
Tell everybody how to follow you guys. Ghost, we'll start with you since you joined us first. How to find you. Everyone follows you already, but where you're at and what you have going on.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok is it's all at 40 Acre Vibes, and then the YouTube channel's Ghost and Friends, the ampersand instead of the ghost word written out. And yeah, come have fun, man. It's all just about talking ball. Doesn't matter which fan bases you root for, and some Longhorns like me a little less for that, but that's okay. We're inclusive here.
Yeah.
Hey, you are friendly with everybody. That is
you
the
had a
truth.
great conversation this morning on Texas-Georgia baseball preview.
Thank
so people need to go find that watch that to get ready for the Georgia weekend of baseball. Mama B, Yolanda, tell us how everybody can find you and your son and what's going on.
Probably at a gym near them. Or a football field or a college near them until this last one is gone. I'm serious.
You're at Yadiva 70.
Yes. Yadiva 71.
Yeah, at Yadiva 71. And
I'm too old to be trying to work Instagram, so I don't really mess around. I know everybody wants to follow me. I don't even I post Texas football or my daughter's basketball program. I don't or Coach
Isaiah.
Prime.
Yeah,
So,
I love it.
I don't even know the hashtag. So I do Facebook and Twitter. But I will say this, with all the winning we got going on in Houston, we do appreciate Coach accepting the job at Rice. So we know that's about to get turned around.
Thank you. That's
about to get turned around. Yes. So.
And that's such a great fit for him. I really think that Coach Pierce is going to thrive down in Rice. So it's exciting to see that pick up there. So y'all, again, we truly appreciate you joining us. This is the part where we have to say, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Fire the Cannon Podcast. Every hit that like button, hit that subscribe. That helps us out for sure. We would be remiss not to thank our amazing guests, Mama B and Ghost of Texas football. You guys are
welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
This is so much fun, y'all. Until next time, we're going to sign it off. Our guest, can we say this? Mama B, shout out your name. This is Mama B.
Mama B.
We got Cord. Go ahead. Shout it out.
The Ghost of Texas football.
I'm Megan.
I'm Rocky.
And we are Fire the Cannon, y'all. Until next time, hook 'em.
Y'all be blessed.